All right, we're going to get this started. 12:03. Thank you to everyone. I see everyone filing in here. So thanks to everybody for joining us for another Tuesday Talk Day Show, Adcraft. Been having a lot of fun. If you tuned in last week to listen to Chris Cuomo, thank you all. We're having a lot of fun with this series, and I would just want to introduce myself. I'm Andrew Robinson, president of Adcraft Club of Detroit and vice president, sales manager at Warner Media. On behalf of our entire Adcraft board of directors, I want to thank you all for your support, spending your lunch hour with us. Your support is needed now more than ever, so thank you. As a nonprofit, Adcraft relies on membership dues to help fund all of our operations and programs like today. So please renew your annual membership if you haven't done so yet. You'll see an email come to you. Just click on that email, renew your membership via email. And if you're not a current Adcraft member, we'd hope that you consider joining. It only takes a few minutes, and if you go to adcraft.org, you can sign up there. We'd love to have you. We kicked off our first round of Tuesday Talks, or I'm sorry, our second round of Tuesday Talks last week with Chris Cuomo. And very, very excited to keep it going today and hear from Tyra Neal, Chief Marketing Officer of Shinola. Obviously, Shinola is the iconic luxury brand known for its craftsmanship and made right here in Detroit. So we love that. You won't want to miss our Tuesday Talk next week when we have Joe Staples, Executive Creative Director of Mother LA. Joe was previously at Wieden+Kennedy, where he worked on brands Nike, Coke, and Chrysler. He was actually involved in the now famous M&M Super Bowl spot. So he'll have plenty of stories to tell. So we hope that you can tune in for that. And due to popular demand from our ad crafters, we have added 3 more Tuesday Talks. They're going to be in October. So keep your Tuesdays at noon reserved for Adcraft. We're finalizing details now, and registration will be opening later this week. So you'll receive emails on that. Stay tuned in your social media. We have some really big guests coming up. Can't tell you exactly who just yet, but we will have some well-known personalities from big brands here. NBC, ESPN, Goodby Silverstein, as well as an Olympic gold medalist. So tune in and mark your calendars. Speaking of gold medalists and just phenomenal athletes, I'll be golfing on Monday with Detroit's own Anthony Winters, who I believe is an ex-Olympic gold medalist at something. It's not too late to register. I'm sorry. Did I skip ahead? I'm sorry. Adcraft tees off on Monday. So if you are signed up for Adcraft, we will see you out on the golf course nice and early for 8:30 tee time on Monday. Very excited to see you guys. It's not too late to register for our virtual trivia night that kicks off in 2 weeks. You can register individually, or you can get a group of friends together and get in on the action and create a team. The event is free to all current Adcraft members. And if you're not a member, it's $5. So join us and let's have some fun. Prizes will be awarded and it'll be a weekly competition. So check out adcraft.org for more information or email Lauren Pogue. She's got all the answers. And now, without further ado, speaking of just world-class people and athletes, it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Casey Herbis, Adcraft board member and Chief Marketing Officer of Quicken Loans. Casey will be moderating today's discussions. Quick story about Casey. As you know, Rocket Mortgage Classic won by Bryson DeChambeau this year. Casey just recently got out on the golf course and was able to golf with Bryson. And rumor has it that when the round was over, he reached over and gave Bryson a nice warm hug and whispered in his ear that you're going to win the US Open. And later that week, Bryson flew out to New York and fulfilled Casey's dream of winning the U.S. Open. So Casey, good work on that little, the sweet nothing in Bryson's ear, and I think you really powered him to a victory this past weekend. So congratulations, and I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks, Andrew. By the way, you did an awesome job last week with Chris Cuomo. It was such an engaging, great experience to learn about him. And and if anyone you saw it, and he had dogs and kids, and his wife joined at certain points. Just mad props to that. And we love our Connected by Craft talk series, and we appreciate you taking time out of your Tuesday to spend with us. So we have the opportunity to hear from thought leadership all over the country and do different things with different brands and organizations and media platforms. And so we're so fortunate today to have Tyra Neal. So Tyra is the Chief Marketing Officer at Shinola, and a little bit of background on Tyra. She's a big picture brand strategist and marketing leader with deep digital expertise. Before coming on board as Shinola's CMO last year, she was at Estée Lauder as a vice president of global marketing, working to contemporize the socially conscious luxury brand Aveda across 6 regions and 30 countries. Prior to working with Estée Lauder, she held many senior roles within Luxottica and Lenscrafters on the retail portfolio, from product marketing to strategic marketing to media planning and advertising. So I think it's really great when you meet folks like Tyra that have this just robust experience across all marketing channels. And her roots are on the client side. She honed her skills at Resource Interactive, which was an independent agency in the P&G Procter Gamble's portfolio, along with Wieden+Kennedy. And she spent her formative years at Walmart with a ringside seat with the founding of the True Marketing Center of Excellence, and saw the brand through a significant transformation, including the full rebrand and migration from always low prices to more of the emotionally rich territory of save money, live better. So think about that experience that Tyra is bringing to the table, working with some of the most storied brands, disciplined brands, P&G and Walmart. Anytime you get a chance to learn from marketing executives from those organizations, there's nothing but gold in that insight. She's a native Clevelander. We're going to talk about her journey to Detroit here in a second, and she identifies strongly with the Midwestern values embodied by the Shinola brand: determination, perseverance, resilience, and renewal. So, Tyra, welcome to the Adcraft Tuesday Talk Series. How are you?
Welcome. Good to be here. I had no idea when you roped me into this that I would be following practiced television people like Chris Cuomo, but I will give it my all.
Well, listen, the Tuesday Talk Series is the opportunity to talk to influencers and marketing leaders, and we're so excited to have you here. So my first question for you, I had the chance to meet you as you were going through the recruitment process and joining Shinola. Dan Gilbert, some people may know Dan Gilbert has an investment in Shinola, and I was asked to quote unquote interview Tyra, and I'm like, why the hell am I meeting with someone that's looking to have a role with Shinola? But we had a really great, I think we hit it off the first day we met, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the last year and change. But talk about, obviously as I read through your bio, those storied brands of Walmart and P&G and Estée Lauder. Talk a little bit about your journey and the opportunity that became available to you at Shinola, and what you went through, if you will. And we always like to ask folks, Tyra, what'd you think about Detroit? You're a Midwest girl, but you're across the pond over there in Cleveland. Your impressions of Detroit coming in, and now that you've been here with us for the last year and change.
Yeah, it was an interesting recruitment process. The opportunity surfaced to me through a recruiter, and it was kind of a funny story because, he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about a CML role for a luxury brand, a luxury accessory brand out of Detroit." And I laughed and said, "There's no such thing. If there was, I would have heard of it." And he said, no, really, here's the brand. Go research it and learn a little bit about it. And I did, and we came back together, and he said, "So let me get this straight. This is a brand that, you have an affinity for the category, for fashion. You have, it seems like you're in their target consumer base, you have the means to purchase it. There's actually a store in your city, because I, you know, was in Minneapolis at the time, and you've never heard of this brand?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I've never heard of it. And he said, well, that's why they need you. And after looking at the brand, understanding a little bit more about it, you know, it has what I think people would agree. You know, the brand is cohesive. It has an amazing story and meaning. When looking at it from the outside, you know, it appears cohesively. A lot of brands I've worked on, you're trying to reinvent the brand in addition to, you know, the operational day-to-day practice of it. So that was really interesting to me. It's all the ingredients were there, awareness is lacking, and any marketer, I think, would take that challenge every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So I said, sign me up.
And how has the experience of being in Detroit treated you so far? We're gonna get to, you know, I'm gonna pepper you with a bunch of Detroit questions at the end. But you know, one of the things you and I talked about when we first met was the Detroit advertising community, and you've raised your hand and said, hey, I'd love to be part of Adcraft and, you know, be more and, you know, be involved, and we appreciate that. But how have you found the community, you know, the Detroit community for you professionally and personally so far?
Yeah, I think, you know, Detroit has been nothing but welcoming. I think you know, you called out, I'm from Cleveland. I'm a tried and true Midwesterner. My roles have been in the Midwest and not carried me to the coasts, even though I had the opportunity. It's just, myself, my family, we identify with those values. And I think coming from Cleveland, we feel this kind of a kinship with Detroit. It's part of, you know, talking about Shinola and how we grow, we have pockets of awareness and resonance. And to me, cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, you know, Midwest, Rust Belt kind of cities feel a kinship with each other. And the brand proposition is something that is very easily gotten. You know, but the Detroit community's been welcoming. You know, I'm amazed, like many others, when you come and see the city and you do the tour with Bruce, and I send everybody there now and say, come do this and come hang out, come see the city. It's amazing, but also not surprising to me. People from the Midwest, they have that heart and that hustle.
And so as you join, you know, it's funny, you talk about that Shinola thing, and you're right, where, you know, a lot of us here, let's say most of us, if not all of us, are living in Detroit here on the call with us today. And we hear Shinola, and it's probably 95% brand awareness in Detroit, but you go outside, we'll call it the Detroit or Michigan bubble, and we'll talk more about that, because that's a big challenge as a CMO, is coming in like, all right, Detroit, check. You know, in Michigan, check. But as you look across the country, I mean, is a CMO coming into a brand? The brand continues to grow, product portfolio, retail, e-commerce. We'll talk about that. What has been some of your focus as you know, walking into the role as the CMO of the Shinola brand?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably there's been a lot of things over the past year, but 4 things kind of stick out to me. You know, one, and it's all about readying the brand for that next phase of growth, really. You know, the first one was, I came in probably a month before we had a pretty significant organizational realignment.
Yeah.
And so culture was honestly needed kind of a boost in the arm. We needed to kind of streamline and strengthen some of our functions to ready ourselves for growth. And, you know, on my team especially, we turned over probably, you know, I'll say 5 or 6 key roles within a couple of months of my coming. And it's amazing what everybody knows this. I always say there's no such thing as a neutral hire. It either helps or it hurts. But adding a couple of people with that curiosity, the excitement, not being jaded, that kind of thing has done wonders for our culture. And I think we've really come together as a brand in the year that I've been here. So culture was number 1. Number 2, I think, was taking another critical look at the brand mission and vision. Like I said, when you look at the brand from the outside, it appears fairly cohesive and clear. When you get under the covers, you know, you see all the communications and all the cracks. Shinola as a brand, and before I had come, had entered new categories like the hotel, prospecting a new customer base and younger Detrola, new markets, new channels of distribution. And we had not revisited our brand narrative in probably 2 years. So we needed to refresh that and get clear. People will ask things like, how central is Detroit to your brand? And we needed to clarify that within our brand narrative. So doing that work and getting buy-in. I think the third thing was readying ourselves for the next growth phase in terms of our media and awareness approach. So, you know, we brought on Universal McCann out of Birmingham as our agency of record there and worked with them on, you know, what would be the approach for the coming year. Of course, COVID has just blown that out of the water. And then I think the last thing, and this is a work in progress and always will be, is, you know, just focusing, bringing a point of view of customer centricity to the organization. It's a design focused organization and always will be, but there are opportunities to sprinkle in the customer perspective in ways that we've never had before. I mean, when I came, we have e-commerce dashboards, we have merchant dashboards, we know our selling by SKU, we know our selling by store, but nowhere could I find a customer dashboard. What are our cohorts? Are we growing? Are we gaining? Are we losing customers? Is it a homogeneous customer base? What are the various differences between them? So trying to build that discipline and flex that muscle is a work in progress. But
so did you have the data? It was a matter of how to organize it so you can build and look at, right? Because you got your SKUs, you got your retail, but it was just finding that, you know, the data is there. It's a matter of organizing it, help you really define, you know, who your customer is and the trends there.
Yeah, and I always say too, you know, I say it's a work in progress because we're building up our data and analytical capability to be able to surface that better view of the customer. But one thing I have always say and have said since I showed up is, you know, a watch doesn't buy itself. Like, we'll often be in meetings where we talk about, you know, we're launching this watch, and I'll talk about the I voted that we're launching today, but we're not just launching a watch. A customer hands you $1 across a counter for that watch. Who's the person on the other end of that transaction? If you don't have a handle on your customers and the differences, the similarities, the differences between them, the dynamics, then you really don't know your business at all.
And let's talk about, obviously, the last 7 months. You talked about, you know, you're rolling into 20 and planning, and then obviously come March 11th, 16th, somewhere in there, all of a sudden the dynamics change. You know, you and I, you know, both get a chance to meet with other marketing leaders, and I'll never forget, I was on a call probably 3 weeks into COVID, and the CMO of Target was on there, and he was talking about when President Trump went out, and it was, you know, everyone's just scrambling, like, how do we go out? And President Trump made a comment about covering your face with a scarf. And literally overnight, Target's e-commerce and in-store retail business model flipped. He was saying, like, we got 3 times of like Cyber Monday traffic the next day. And everyone wanted scarves. And in April, outside of Minneapolis, Cleveland, Detroit, Targets aren't carrying scarves. So, you know, for you, you know, you've got stores, you've got flagship stores across the country. I've been to them in LA and New York, and, you know, obviously Detroit. You got your retail, e-commerce, and also wholesale. How has COVID caused the brand to pivot over the last 7 months?
Yeah, you know, before, and I'm gonna share a visual aid here in a second if I can get it to work. The obvious is, you know, our business mix is impacted, right? E-commerce was, call it 30% of our business before, stores were 50%, wholesale 20%. And then, you know, I remember being on a trip on a clear as day on March 16th when I was reading tweets about the subway system being shut down. And I said, I'm gonna go grab a flight, you know, because I'm worried that we'll get grounded, and I haven't been in the office since. So obviously we shut our stores down the following week, and then we proceeded to, you know, in the short term, reforecast what our business would look like. E-com is up significantly year over year, as you can imagine, not enough to compensate for stores. I've been talking with colleagues in other industries and MMAs that some of them have had their e-com business compensate for their store closures, which is really interesting to me. We're not quite there, but in a luxury, discretionary type of way, that's to be expected. But then the other part of it is, the pivot of all this change. And if I can, I'm going to share my screen for a second here and pull up. Oh, look, pivoting. All right. So
yeah, I can see it.
So, the very first thing was, and this is in the weeks after closure, pivoting our tone. When all this happened, we were launching the Sparty watch, which I think you have one of those Sparty watches.
I have many Shinola watches, Tyra, and my Sparty. I can't believe you don't make a Michigan one, but I don't blame you for not making one.
We actually do.
Oh, you do? You just don't sell many of them, probably.
PSA, we do make them both, so we're equal opportunity there. But yeah, we were launching the Sparty watch, and it was March Madness, which just got canceled. We were just about to launch the Tigers watch and have an event on opening day. We had emails going out, so we had to scramble our social feed to take those things out, to kind of reposition those messages, like, hey, if you're just rooting in spirit, here's how you root from the safety of home. Before we had a chance to kind of redo all our communications, we had to scramble to insert some messaging like, hey, we know we haven't had a chance to change this yet, but we still think you need to see this message because it's still bringing joy to us. Then we worked into really pivoting our content. So you can see here an email series that we launched around people having time on your hands, watches that go great with sweatpants, losing track of time if you're working from home. So we kind of leaned into that from a content standpoint. Then we had to pivot production. So this is our Father's Day catalog, which is entirely shot from home in the apartments of our creative team. And I think it looks fantastic. And we sourced kind of employee UGC here for stories about dads and the impact that they've had on us through the years. So that was a shift. Then we pivoted our service model. So the retail stores were closed and our managers and associates stayed at home writing stacks and stacks of thank you notes to our Foundry members, which are our most loyal customers, talking to them, just seeing if they needed anything, letting them know that they would be welcomed back when it was time. And I'm not going to play this video because it'll take a while, but it's just, an example of a Foundry member saying, hey, I received your note. I can't believe you remembered that my baby was going to be born a couple weeks from now. It's amazing customer service, and I'll be back when it's time to commemorate that occasion. So we pivoted our service model in the stores. And then probably in the most heroic way, we pivoted product. So we had this watch coming out in June anyway, which is called the Champ, and it was meant to celebrate Olympic champions. And it's just, the Olympics were canceled, and we thought, oh, is the watch going to be canceled? And eventually thought, no, this watch that we built to celebrate champions still has a place in celebrating champions. So we kept it as the Champ, and we raised all the money, all the proceeds went to the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan to support their healthcare worker fund. So that was, a heroic achievement. And then we're now, this is kind of where we are now, we're pivoting production again. So we've been in lockup so long, we kind of run out of content and images that we have no choice but to go and shoot and gather more again. And, I think we consulted with the Quicken Loans team, thank you for that, because we thought, how are we going to do this? What are the protocols? How are we going to capture these images? How are we going to be safe? So it's been a series. I'm going to exit screen share here. It's been a series of pivots on the communication side and on the business side as well.
And Tyra, I absolutely admire how a couple things here that I think, we can all learn from. One is you had to remain nimble. You had to listen to your clients, customers, advocates. There's a lot of loyalty, obviously, to the Shinola brand, and you had to figure it out. I mean, actually, I'm in Phoenix right now. We've shot 2 campaigns since we've sheltered in place, and it is totally different. I mean, normally you come to one of our Rocket Mortgage shoots, there's 50, 75 people, my team's rolling deep, and this is the first production I've been to. I came because I for some relationship building, and it was different. There was only 3 of us from the brand at set. We wore masks all day. The set was closed. Video Village was away, and but the rest of my team, we were able to feed right into the video, into the playback, and so my team's back in Detroit. For the most part, the brand and creative and legal, what have you, and they're able. But it's like you figured it out, and you had to do it. And I love how you've listened to your clients and making sure that your clients, your customers, your advocates, and they know that you're with them every step of the way. That's going to go a long, long ways with building brand advocacy. So here we are. We're 7 months. We're 7 months into what we call our new normal. And how are you reimagining the experience even more going forward into 21? We're all sitting here in September, getting our heads wrapped around, all right. I mean, for you, I can imagine in your business, I don't know what Q4 is as a percentage of your retail, but I would imagine Q4 is a big period of time. We don't know what the Halloween and Thanksgiving and the holidays are going to look like, but from a commerce standpoint. So how are you thinking about reimagining the business again, even in Q4, but through 21?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's funny. Q4 is a really significant part of our business, as you can imagine. It's funny, when I worked at Walmart, I remember being very close to the divisional manager of toys, which is obviously acutely seasonal, and she compared it to trying to land an aircraft carrier on 50 feet of airstrip, which is a very apt analogy. It's not quite like that for us, thank God, but it is. We are all kind of nail biting. I think we've done, we've done everything we can, I say, to give ourselves the best chance at success. We obviously, when COVID hit and we reforecast our revenue projections, that impacted our marketing number. And then we back end loaded it too, to try to make sure that, we were over the hump if we could be, to give ourselves more to work with in holiday. And we're now entering that phase. So we've given ourselves the best chance of success, and we'll see what happens in terms of consumer confidence and willingness to spend. For the broader business, of course, we all went back to the drawing board at the urging of our board to try and reimagine the business. Where do we really need to accelerate? What areas have we maybe been delinquent in, but we need to spend some time getting up to speed now? And broadly speaking, that involves, accelerating e-commerce. We're lucky enough to be rated, not genius, but gifted in the L2 Gartner e-commerce quadrant. So I think we've got a good start there, but there are a lot more things we can do. I think investing in our e-commerce team, it's kind of one of the places where we're growing roles right now, growing disciplines, viewing our site as a product, just like we view our product, and investing all the time and detail and making sure that people can transact there easily and frictionlessly. And then we're building, I'll call it omni capabilities, like, buy online, pick up in store isn't as impactful when you have a small store footprint. We only have 23 doors, but the reverse of that, which is we have inventory in stores that could be fulfilling e-com orders. That's a big deal for us, so that we don't have idle inventory. So we're working on connecting those pipes to make that omni-channel experience a little easier, working on making our payment gateways easier so people can buy online, return in either channel, things like that. And then we're actually kind of reimagining our sales experience going forward. So one of the things we're kind of testing out is a brand ambassadorship, a little bit like Lululemon does, where we have, ex-employees or Foundry members who are really knowledgeable and enthusiastic about our product, and they could be potential sales avenues in places where people don't want to go into a store, or where we might never have a store. So all kinds of cool things coming that way.
Well, listen, if you're looking for a middle-aged, slightly out of touch ambassador, sign me up. It's a niche demographic, but I'm happy to represent the brand wherever. It's really, it's funny.
You will have to sell the Wolverine watch though as well.
Well, no, then I'm out. I have integrity. It's interesting when you meet with people, and it happens all the time. Obviously, in Detroit, and you have a lot of folks that come in from New York and LA, Chicago, and they're always super proud. Like when you meet people from LA and New York, you're like, hey, it's the first thing they want to show you is like, I got a Shinola watch, and then I bought one for my wife or my husband or whatever it might be. And the brand, I love seeing how the brand, continues to spread out. But let's talk about something that all of us as, senior marketers and agencies and on the client side, it's been a very, very active year, obviously. Obviously with COVID and all the social commentary, we're obviously moving in here in, less than 60 days into a large political event, which is, going to continue to be such a big part of conversation. And you mentioned something earlier, and I love the product, like your product, rolling it relevant, contextually relevant to your market and your client, the champ, how you pivoted there with that watch. And you mentioned the I Voted watch that's dropping today. Talk a little bit of like that product, did that just come up? I don't know your production cycles, but something you've been planning, or as you saw, again, the social commentary and the drive and the importance of, encouraging everybody to exercise their right, how that came to life, and then what is that brand story with the I Vote product?
Yeah, I'll pull up another visual aid here in a second, but no, we didn't just kind of pull that out of thin air. Our product cycle is a little bit longer than that. At least 12 months, sometimes 18 months, depending on the SKU. So, the champ that I showed you, the Sparty we talked about, the I Voted, that's all part of our Detrola series. So we just launched Detrola in August of last year. And we, like many brands, have a consumer segmentation. We have a watch enthusiast, who's kind of the more classic Shinola person, and then a style seeker, who tends to be a little younger, a little more urban, a little more diverse, and they want something that reflects their attitudes, their beliefs, as well as their style aesthetic. So Detrola has been a really good way to bring new people into the brand. We call it also a release valve for the brand. It's more lighthearted, a little more levity, a little more topical, and lets us get involved with some of those advocacy pillars that are important to the brand. So actually, we've been involved in some social justice causes going back. In April, we launched the 420 and gave—
That's right.
Yeah, and that was a really interesting launch, actually, because it was semi-controversial, but we gave the proceeds of that watch to Cabrini Legal Aid to help decriminalize marijuana possession, which negatively impacts Black and brown communities disproportionately. So that's something that the brand has always been about, is advancement, opportunity. And so the I Voted watch, which drops today, which today is National Early Voter Registration Day, and this has been in the works for, call it, 18 months, but it took on a real passion for our teams in light of all the events going on right now. I'm going to share my screen for a second here and show you some fun stuff. Sorry for the scroll. All right. So, the way we talk about this campaign, voting is an action. The purpose of the marketing around this watch isn't just to sell watches, but to encourage people to take action. So we are going to support this in a way by demystifying the process. We've partnered with I'm a Voter, which is a nonpartisan organization that spreads information and resources. We are sharing that content really broadly. So Shinola doesn't historically do a lot of influencer marketing or seeding, but in this particular instance, it's a natural behavior to want to share your sticker. And we thought people would want to share their watch as well. So we probably seeded maybe 40 or 50 watches, and we'll see that start to hopefully pop up over time. And then we also want to make it easy and fun for people to engage. So getting that sticker, if, for example, you voted by mail, you're missing that tangible result, and we can step in and provide that for you. So this is kind of what the 360 campaign looks like, where we've got owned, shared, earned, and paid media. And the shared piece is, you know, in addition to partnering with I'm a Voter, the Detroit Pistons, who actually took their mega practice facility and turned it into a voting site, which I think is very cool. We have an event coming up on Thursday with panelists from the Pistons, Rick Mahorn, the founder of I'm a Voter, and actually the famous actor Anthony Mackie, who has a nonpartisan voting charity as well, is going to lend a message on that event tomorrow night. And then we've also partnered in this shared space with One Time Run, another Detroit company, to do a limited edition aftermarket customized watch, and part of those proceeds will go to this Pistons voting site. And I'm going to play you a short video here if I can get it to work. No sound, so don't worry. So yeah, that's our I Voted watch, which drops today.
Well, go Shinola, go to the stores, wherever it might be. I've got a couple Detrola watches, and I love them. I got one of the first ones that came out was the black with the yellow face, all those comments, and I have it. The Shinola Hotel. Very interesting, right? That's a collaboration, we'll call it a licensing agreement, you know, with the hotel. It's the only one in the country. I'd love to know if you're gonna, if you know, could we see a Shinola hotel in, you know, New York, Chicago, LA down the road? And I would like, what has the Shinola hotel done for you as for the brand and prestige? I mean, I can tell you, whenever anyone comes to visit us, I say you're staying at the like you are staying at the Shinola. It's not even a, you know, it's not even a question anymore. And I can't tell you how many folks that travel all over the country that just rave. I was at dinner last night with some folks, and they're going to come in for the Rock and Mortgage Classic, and all they were like, make sure you got a room for me at the Shinola. What is the Shinola hotel? What's that done for the brand? And obviously you have a lot of opportunity to build extensions and, you know, showcase product, what have you. What's that meant for the brand? And, you know, could you foresee this expanding in the future?
Yeah, it actually has done a lot of things. I think we all can agree, you know, heading in pre-COVID, one of the big topics in retail was around experiential retail. Like, it just is not enough for stores to be transactional hubs anymore. And in the same way that I think Lululemon, again, has done a great job of creating a community hub with their stores, we have always tried to do that with our stores, hosting local events, welcoming people in, having events for Foundry members and educational events, things like that. The hotel is kind of experiential retail on steroids, like taken to the nth level. And what it really does is allow someone who is a fan of the brand to envision and envelop themselves in the whole lifestyle. If you're a lifestyle brand, it's not just an accessory, it's how you live. And when you step in there, you live and breathe the ethos of the brand. So that has done a couple things. One, you mentioned our awareness in the Michigan market. It did accelerate our awareness there. So we have something like, you know, 60% aided awareness in the Michigan market. It's actually not 90, but that's pretty darn high. Yeah. Versus other markets like, you know, Philadelphia, New York, Minneapolis, whatever, where it's hovering around 12%. So still much smaller, and a lot of the publicity around the hotel has accelerated that. The other thing it's done, and you mentioned this, is it is itself a licensed partnership with Bedrock, but it has led to other potential licensed partnerships for us. All you need to do is come in and stay at the hotel, and you instantly understand the lifestyle of the person that we intend to talk to, and whether or not, if you're a complimentary brand, if you fit with that. So, you know, a smaller licensed partnership, for example, was with Waterworks. They did the hotel fixtures, and yep, we licensed with them to do those in a couple stores. We have a couple more of those coming up, one of which is going to be, I can't even say it, but huge, 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 and land in like 90% of mailboxes in the US. So that's going to be really amazing. And then, yeah, we do envision that we could eventually see a hotel in another market. like Chicago has been one that's been tossed about, or potentially even something with our Detrola brand now, a different kind of, hospitality experience.
And like my wife and I and the kids, we've done a couple like staycations where we just come down and stay at the Shinola. The kids love it, discovering downtown, and it's such a great experience. I love taking folks over there, the restaurants, the hotel. I mean, it's phenomenal. Reminder, everybody, in here on the Zoom down on QA on your probably at your footer, Q&A. Let's we're going to wrap up here probably in the next 5 minutes with myself and Tyra. But questions that you might have, we'll have some time to answer them at the end. Before we do my rapid fire questions, Tyra, talk about like leadership and like your leadership style, if you will, and what have you learned? We've learned a lot about ourselves, professionally, personally. Obviously, as we moved into a shelter-in-place, work from home, how's your approach as a leader maybe changed or evolved over the last 6 or 7 months? Especially, like, I miss my team members so much, and even though I'm on Zoom calls or Teams calls with them 10, 12 hours a day, nothing replaces the interaction, the interpersonal connectivity you get when you're sitting across from somebody or in a room or at dinner, whatever it might be. How have you learned? How have you grown as a leader? What have you learned, and how do you motivate your team as we continue through work shelter in place?
Yeah, I think the challenge of being apart has been difficult. We've all, I think I've heard this from a lot of people, not just Shinola employees, but we've all, I think, rallied, to meet the cause. We're working productively from home, but we haven't been able to replicate that true connect. We have happy hour calls and creativity corner calls, and we've not been able to replicate that true connection. And I don't know that there's a way that you can. But from a leadership perspective, I think this stretch right now has probably taught me more about myself and what we need to see from our leaders than any stretch in my career. I think if the pace of change is so fast,
yes,
you have to be able, we talked about all the pivots, you have to be able to move and change so quickly, which, by the way, having a strong and well understood brand is a prerequisite for that. So you cannot move fast if you don't know who you are. But just, being able to move fast, being extremely humble, going on a social justice journey, understanding what the path looks like, from ally to accomplice to really working to make change in those spaces. As an individual and as a leader, you have to be willing to be humbled daily, and understand that you don't know as much as you think you know. But I think that's just, and I've also learned in a positive way, like, I can do it, being authentic and accessible, I think, have been the most important qualities during this time. And, I've tried to do that the best I can, and tireless, there's just no stopping. I had a mentor once who said, when you're the boss, his mantra was no bad days. You can't project that as the boss. And I think, that's true. You got to be willing to be seen as humble, but you also got to be willing to never give up, and keep carrying forward no matter what.
I love that. I love that. I wrote that down, the mantra is, when you're the boss, there are no bad days. And, you're right. It's also, I love to talk about accessibility and being humble. We all have our trials and tribulations. And I think, one of the things that I know I've appreciated is the more of the humanistic connection that you get when some of these Teams calls, where somebody maybe you've worked with for a number of years, and you just don't know them that well personally, but you've got deeper insight into them from where they take their calls or who's hanging around them, or, and especially, with our parents that, as schools start back up, and, just working with our team members, as we are, working to manage households and, the expectations that come along with education and children. So reminder, Q&A at the bottom. Let's ask some questions here at Tyra. And Tyra, we are going to move into rapid fire. You do not know what these questions are. There are no wrong answers. There's nothing here that is going to embarrass you potentially, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Fire away.
All right. First thing that comes out, right? Tyra, your nickname growing up.
Tiggity Tyra.
What? Tiggy Tyra?
Tiggity. Like, I don't know why. It just kind of stuck. You don't get to pick your nicknames. Maybe it's for Tigger. I don't know.
All right. Your first car.
Susie Isuzu had a name.
A Suzu.
Yep.
All right. God bless that
I
brand.
got really good at changing tires, by the way.
Yeah. Rest in peace with the Suzu.
Yep.
So far, and I know this is probably a loaded question, but your favorite Detroit restaurant?
I love, my husband hates ethnic food, and so I get Middle Eastern food pretty much 90% of the time that I'm eating out in Detroit, because I love it, can't get enough of it. I would say also, I love San Morello. It's not just a plug. I was really sick of San Morello by the time we got into quarantine, because I ate there probably every week. Now I can't wait to get back.
Well, all right. A little tidbit for our folks joining us today. I've discovered a new Mediterranean place. Not discovered it because I saw it on Instagram and it looks so damn good. Balkan House, Balkan. They've got a sit-down restaurant in Hamtramck right off Kniff. And then they also understand they have a storefront in Ferndale right across from Bangkok. It's takeout only right now. I am telling you, it's a game changer. So if you love Mediterranean, put that on your list. Sneakers or dress shoes?
5 months ago, I would have said dress shoes. Now I'm sneakers all the way.
Now, are you buying shoes on StockX?
Yeah, these lovely Adidas NMDs.
Those boosts, the pillow, those shoes are game changers, in my opinion. Love the boosts. Earliest and biggest, who was your girlhood crush? Music, athletes, movies?
Okay, this is not a crush, but when I was growing up, my dad was, he valued education so much, and he would always say, because we came from humble beginnings, you can get there from here. And I had posters in my room, not of crushes, but like I had David Robinson posters in my room because he scored 1,400 on his SATs, and he was kind of my idol. So
you mean the Admiral David Robinson?
Yeah, the Admiral, yeah.
Played at Navy, San Antonio Spurs.
Stand-up guy, really smart guy.
Yeah, he was awesome. One thing you want to do, like what's on your bucket list? Something you want to do, but you're too scared.
This has been on my bucket list for a long time. I got to make progress on it. Two things. I would like to learn Aikido, because just the philosophy behind push-pull, reacting that way is really interesting to me. And I would like to learn to play guitar.
Guitar, there we go. What do you say to the 22-year-old Tyra?
I would say to the 22-year-old Tyra, number one, do not be concerned nearly as much with how it is all going to turn out. Mm-hmm. It just will. The path unfolds in front of you, but hustle just as hard as you were. And I would really tell this to anybody right now, invest as much time as you can in your own personal development early on, because it's just a fact of life. When you gain work and family responsibilities, you have less time for that. So invest in yourself.
I agree, especially if you work in organizations where that's fostered. That's why Adcraft and have these opportunities. I always tell people, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, and I've been at this a long time. Describe yourself with a hashtag.
Sorry, not sorry.
Hashtag there. All right, you're taking the stage. You're at ANA. You're kind of joining us at Adcraft on stage again one time. What's your walk-up song? My
walk-up song formerly was "Little Miss Can't Be Wrong" by the Spin Doctors. Yep. But now, since we are all humbled, I'm gonna have to pick a new song. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
All right. Well, you're gonna reply to everybody on that. What's a book everyone should read?
Actually, I've got two, and they're sitting right beside me. This one, Creating Brand Loyalty. You see this sticker on here? Because
I'm gonna take a picture of it. Hold on, because I'm gonna take a picture of it. All right.
It's the stickers on here because I literally buy these by the dozen and I hand them out like candy. It's a little bit dated, but it's like, you know, a textbook that you read that you still consult. This is it. Like the brief, the power positioning, the freedom of a tight brief, giving creative feedback, understanding how RTBs ladder up to the benefit. Like it's all in here. It's a really good book.
All right, well, let me check that out. All right, last one. You're at dinner and you can pick 4 people, dead or alive. Who's sitting at the dinner table with you? Like what's your dream team table look like?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm gonna pick my dad, who's not with us anymore, but he was a great conversationalist, so I'm gonna invite him. And then I figure if I'm gonna resurrect people from the dead, I might as well make it like a really meaty conversation. So how about like Jesus, the Buddha, and Muhammad?
It's a power. It's a power pack. That's awesome. Now we're gonna move to Q&A. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right. Mr. Tom Talbert. I don't know if you've ever had the chance and privilege of meeting Mr. Talbert, ex-president of Adcraft, one of the most thoughtful humans I've met in my life. He has a couple questions for you. What's the most surprising thing about your move to Detroit? At Shinola, what you've realized about the city? And is Detroit a place where Shinola can truly reach its potential? You know, you have brands that sometimes, you know, they go to the coast and they come back, and we've seen that in the automotive space. But so what's the most surprising thing about your move to Detroit at Shinola, or what you've realized about the city? And is Detroit the place where Shinola can reach its true potential?
So just to, and full disclaimer, I'm still in Minneapolis. It's interesting, but I have been traveling back and forth. Probably before COVID, I was there 3 out of 4 weeks, definitely. So I feel like it's definitely my second home. We fully intended to get there, had a couple family hiccups, and then COVID hit. So, you know, even though it's my second home, I'm not there 100% of the time. But I feel like I am. The most surprising thing about Shinola, I think that's been interesting is, you know, the perception, you kind of hit on it there. The perception is that much different between Detroit and everywhere else. So even in a cultural way, it would occur to me that people in our organization, you know, people will apply to come work at Shinola, or they'll have expectations of the company that suggest they think it's a much bigger company than it really is. I mean, we really still are kind of a scrappy startup, and we want to, you know, look and act and feel that way and be able to move nimbly. But in Detroit, it has such a presence that people think it's this 800-pound gorilla. So that's been interesting, managing the perception inside versus outside. And then, you know, can it grow? I know it can grow because, again, you know, I'm sitting here in Minneapolis right now. When I came to work for the brand, I came from Aveda, who I would argue has a, you know, a conscious consumer as well. We think of our consumer as a little bit of a conscious consumer. And I had people clamoring to say, I've heard of that brand. I want in, you know, how do I get associated with that brand? What products are for me? So I think the wave of conscious consumerism is huge, and the pandemic will only accelerate that. So our customer is everywhere. It's a matter of how you tell the story to somebody inside of Detroit, maybe versus outside. But we also like to say to ourselves that Detroit is a metaphor. Detroit is a city, but it's also a metaphor for grit, for perseverance, for hustle, and therefore those qualities are embodied everywhere.
And you know, one thing, Dan Gilbert, and you can't use it because you're gonna have to pay him licensing fee, but he always talks about Detroit, and he says, you know, here we are, we're at the intersection of brains and muscle. And I think that just absolutely, you know, like in one sentence, I said, just defines who we are. Last question I have for you, I think this is a great one, because with probably 120, 150 great advertising folks on the phone with us today, what's some advice you would give to young professionals in terms of networking within the business world through this pandemic?
Yeah, I think, you know, you all are obviously dedicated networkers to begin with. If you're here sitting, you know, on an Adcraft call, it's important to you to connect with others and to kind of hone your craft. I would say this is not networking advice per se, maybe career advice, but I was lucky enough to grow up with a CMO mentor at Walmart who expressed to us in many ways that it is not just the remit of a marketer to create communications messages, it's to grow the brand and help the brand realize its full potential. And therefore, you need to understand business as well as you do marketing or communication. So I think in your networking, you would be remiss if you did not also include business minds from other functions, other industries, because it helps you see your own challenge more clearly.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think during these challenging times, that's, when people ask me like, what do you say to the 22-year-old Casey? I didn't realize I didn't put time into networking. I like very early in my career, I was just like, all right, I work at this agency and I do this, and I want to get promoted. Like I didn't look outside the bubble of the agency, and it wasn't until probably 5 or 7 years later where I was like, I realized I started doing more networking, and the power of networking, and that just continues to build. But it's a muscle you got to build, and you got to work it out. You can't just set it and forget it. I think this is a great question. It was from Mariana. I also think doing things like this are opportunities for networking, right? You've got 120, 150 people here. With Adcraft, we run the Advance program. Our councilman Ron runs it, and it's a great 6-8 week program. You get to listen to I speak. We have folks in the Warner and agency leadership, and some of our social and digital media platforms and publishers speak. That's an opportunity to do some networking. Taking advantage of what Adcraft offers to you. If your agency or where you work at are members of the ANA, we've signed up with ANA, and we're becoming more and more involved with ANA. That's helping with networking. We're an in-house agency. We also belong to IHAF, the in-house agency federation, and that's an opportunity for us to network. So the opportunities are all around you. It's a matter of going out, seeking them, but most importantly, taking advantage of them. So, hey, Tyra, thank you so much. I can't wait to have a glass of wine with you at San Morello, and I can trust me in that you've got all big Shinola fans here, and the holidays are coming. What great gifts for your loved ones! But Shinola, right? Watch, leather goods, audio, the product, hell, a bike. I don't care. You got a good little bonus at the end of the year. Buy yourself a bike or buy a bike for someone else. And we wish you all the luck, and we can't wait to have you back here with us at Adcraft. So everybody, don't forget, you heard that from our esteemed president, Mr. Robinson, that the Tuesday talk continues next week at noon with Joe Staples, the ECD at Mother in LA. I can't wait. I've never had a chance to meet Joe, but anyone that's got a Wieden+Kennedy background has done some big work. Mother's a great agency. Jeff Cruz, who's a great interviewer. I'm sure we're gonna have fun getting to hear about Joe and what's happening out at Mother in LA. So Tyra, again, thank you so much. Be safe, be healthy. Can't wait to see you in Adcraft. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you.